The truth is, I never meant for him to find it. Hell, I never even meant to write it. But the letter, the one I stuffed in the bottom drawer of my desk, somehow ended up in his hands. And when he read it, every single word carved into him like a promise I never made. Funny thing is, I wasn't even brave enough to say goodbye out loud. I was going to disappear quietly, like some tragic extra in a cheap drama. Instead, now he looks at me like I'm his whole damn world. It started on a rainy Thursday in a small town in Ohio, the kind of place people drive through without stopping. The air smelled of wet asphalt and pine, and the clouds hung low as if even the sky wanted to escape. I was 21, broke, and too tired of pretending to be someone I wasn't. He was 22, with laughter in his eyes and a way of walking like the ground owed him something. We'd been best friends since middle school at least, that's what he thought. For me, it was always more complicated. When he stormed into my room holding that wrinkled piece of paper, his hands shaking like he'd been holding lightning, I swear my heart stopped. "Is this real?" he demanded, his voice breaking somewhere between anger and fear. "You were just going to leave me? Like I don't matter." I couldn't look him in the eye. The rain hammered against the window like it was trying to cover up my silence. My throat tightened, and the words I wanted to say dissolved on my tongue. The letter wasn't long. Just a few lines about being tired, about running away, about not being strong enough to keep pretending I was fine. I never once wrote his name, but somehow every word was about him. I thought he'd throw it back at me, slam the door, and let me vanish the way I'd planned. But instead, he stepped closer, his voice softening in a way that scared me even more. "You idiot," he whispered, his eyes shining. "You've been in my life so long, I don't even remember who I was before you. And you think you can just walk away? Like I wouldn't notice." I laughed bitterly, a sound that didn't belong in that small room. "You wouldn't understand. You've never carried this weight. You've never had to hide who you are just to survive." But he didn't flinch. He didn't move back. He took another step until I could feel his warmth, until every inch of me screamed to run and stay at the same time. "You think I don't know?" he said, his jaw tight. "You think I haven't noticed the way you look at me when you think I'm not watching? You think I'm that blind?" I froze. For years, I'd buried it so deep I thought no one could ever see. Yet here he was, tearing the truth out of me without even asking. The silence between us stretched so long it felt like the whole world was holding its breath. And then, slowly, almost painfully, he lifted his hand and brushed his fingers against mine. It wasn't a kiss. It wasn't a declaration. But it was enough to shatter every wall I'd built around myself. My chest ached with something I didn't have a name for: fear, longing, hope, all tangled into one unbearable knot. "Don't leave," he murmured. "Not like this. Not when He stopped himself, biting the words back like they were too heavy to set free. The truth is, I wanted him to say it. I wanted him to confess everything, to make this messy, impossible thing between us real. But I was too scared to let him. Because if he said it, if he actually admitted he felt the same, then I wouldn't have an excuse to keep running. So instead, I pulled my hand back, shaking. "You don't know what you're saying." But he just smiled. That stubborn, reckless smile I'd fallen for years ago. "Yeah, I do. I know exactly what I'm saying. I'm saying you're stuck with me, whether you like it or not." And that was the beginning. The beginning of something I never thought I'd have. The beginning of him treating me like I was already his, like the years of silence and pain had been nothing but a prologue. The days after that were a blur of confusion and closeness I couldn't explain. He didn't push, not exactly, but he lingered sitting too close on the couch, brushing against me in the kitchen, catching my eyes in ways that left me breathless. It was maddening, intoxicating, terrifying all at once. At night, I lay awake replaying every moment, every look, every word. I told myself it was a game, that he was teasing me, that he couldn't possibly mean it. But then I'd remember the way his voice cracked when he begged me not to leave, and the way his fingers had trembled when they touched mine, and suddenly nothing felt like a joke. I wanted to give in. God, I wanted it more than I'd ever wanted anything. But the truth is, I didn't know how. Because wanting him meant tearing down every wall I'd built to protect myself. It meant admitting that I wasn't just lonely, I was in love. And love, in this town, in this life, had always felt like the most dangerous thing of all. I used to think love was something meant for other people. Something fragile, something fleeting. A thing that only lived in movies where endings came neatly tied in bows. For people like me, too quiet, too broken, too different, it was just another dream I didn't get to have. But then there was him. Always him. The days bled into weeks. And with every sunrise I tried harder to pretend that nothing had changed. But everything had. He didn't let me slip away into silence anymore. He knocked on my door with takeout boxes, laughed too loud in public just to make me roll my eyes, touched my shoulder in crowded spaces like he was anchoring me to the ground. And every time I told myself it was just habit, just friendship, just him being who he was. But then there were nights. One night in particular. The air was sticky with the remnants of summer, the crickets louder than my thoughts, and he pulled me out onto the porch with a grin that didn't quite reach his eyes. He handed me a beer and leaned against the railing like he had nothing to lose. "You still thinking about leaving?" he asked. I swallowed hard. "Every day." "Then why haven't you?" "Because of you. Because your smile ruins my plans. Because your touch feels like home." Instead, I said, "Because I don't know where else to go." He studied me for a long moment, then set his bottle down with a soft clink. "You could stay. With me. Always." My heart stuttered. "Don't say things like that." "Why not?" "It's true." "Because you don't mean it." "Yes, I do." His voice was fierce now, sharp like broken glass. "I've meant it for years. And you've been too damn blind to see it." The words hung between us, heavy and impossible. I wanted to grab them, cradle them, believe them. But fear has a way of poisoning even the sweetest truths. "You don't know what you're saying," I whispered. "Yes, I do. I'm saying I love you. I always have." And just like that, the world tilted. I laughed, bitter and broken, because it was easier than crying. "You don't. You can't. You're not." He cut me off by stepping closer. So close the air between us crackled. "Not what? Not like you? Not allowed to love you? Screw that. I don't care what anyone says. I don't care about this town, about the whispers, about the stares. All I care about is you." Something inside me cracked open then. A dam I'd been holding back for years. The fear, the longing, the shame, it all came pouring out at once. "You don't understand," I choked out. "If I let myself have this, if I let myself have you, then I have everything to lose." His hand found mine in the dark, warm and steady. "Or maybe," he said softly, "you finally have something worth keeping." That was the night I kissed him. It wasn't gentle, it wasn't perfect. It was messy and desperate and full of years of silence breaking all at once. His lips were soft but demanding, and when he pulled me closer, I realized I'd been starving for this for him whole life. When we finally pulled apart, breathless and trembling, he rested his forehead against mine. "You're not going anywhere," he whispered. "Not without me." And for the first time in years, I didn't want to run. But love stories, even the real ones, don't unfold without resistance. The town noticed. They always notice. The stares at the diner turned sharp, the whispers at the gas station louder. My father stopped calling. His mother cried when she found out, her disappointment like a shadow clinging to his shoulders. We fought. God, did we fight? I told him he didn't deserve the weight of my baggage, that he should find someone easier, someone normal. He shouted that I was an idiot, that I couldn't push him away no matter how hard I tried. Sometimes we went days without speaking, sitting in the same house like strangers. But every time he found his way back to me, a hand slipping into mine under the dinner table, a quiet apology whispered in the dark, a kiss stolen when I least expected it. Slowly, painfully, I began to believe, not in fairy tales, not in perfection, but in us. Because love wasn't about running away from the hard parts. It was about staying, even when everything in you screamed to leave. It was about choosing each other again and again, even when the world told you not to. One night, months later, we drove out past the edge of town, where the fields stretched wide and the stars burned brighter than the streetlights. He parked the truck on an old dirt road, killed the engine, and just sat there staring up at the sky. "You ever think about the future?" he asked. "All the time." And I hesitated, then told him the truth. I used to think I didn't have one, not one worth living, anyway. But now, I turned to him, my chest aching with something sharp and sweet. "Now I think maybe I do. If you're in it." He smiled, and it was the kind of smile that made every scar in me feel like it had a purpose. "I'm not going anywhere," he said. "You're stuck with me, remember?" I laughed, and this time it wasn't bitter. It was real, full, and alive. "Guess I can live with that." We sat there in silence, the kind of silence that felt safe, like a blanket pulled over two weary souls. And for the first time, I didn't feel like I was hiding. I didn't feel like I was running. I felt like I was exactly where I belonged, with him. Looking back now, I realized the letter wasn't a goodbye at all. It was a cry for help, a plea I never expected him to answer. But he did. He always does. And maybe that's what love really is. Not the grand gestures or the perfect endings, but the quiet, stubborn choice to stay. To reach out when the other person is pulling away. To fight for something even when it scares the hell out of you. He found my goodbye letter, and instead of letting me disappear, he turned it into the beginning of us. Now, when he holds me, it feels like we've been together forever. Like all the years of pain and silence were just leading us here. And maybe, in some strange way, they were. Because sometimes, love doesn't come in fireworks or fairy tales. Sometimes it comes in the form of a boy holding a crumpled letter, refusing to let you go. And that, I think, is the kind of love worth living for. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated with the latest videos.